This is a story from Kotaku. Excuse me. Cop discharged for trying to scam store out of $400 worth of Pokemon cards. That, yeah, you'll take it in for a second. This comes to us from Luke Plunkett, who I feel like is actually, shout out to Luke Plunkett. He has a pretty solid history. I remember his name. You know, it's always unfortunate when sites like Kotaku run bullshit, stupid, dumb stories that are just meant to be sensationalist. Because, like, there's people who do good work, and when the editors let through just trash like that so that they can get engagement clicks, it devalues the work of these other people. I feel like I've enjoyed every article I've read from Luke Plunkett. Like, he consistently has done pretty well. Oh my god, he wrote that article from a few days ago. Americans elect first ever known Kingdom Hearts fan to Congress. Yeah, no, I mean, like, yeah, fucking. I just feel like bringing it up because, like, I feel like every time people say Kotaku, it's like, oh. But, like, there are people who do good stuff. You just have to have a discerning eye and remember, like, the fact that I even remember his name, part of the fact is that Plunkett's a funny name, is, like, a good thing. Anyway, let's get into this story. A former officer of the Johnson County Sheriff's Office in Kansas has had his police license revoked after he was caught trying to shortchange a store out of nearly $400 worth of Pokemon cards. Ooh, okay, so this story is fucking... Okay, this could only happen in Kansas, which is a state that... So... Anyway, it is a state. It's one of the states in the... Of all the states in the Union, Kansas is one of them. I feel like the most famous thing about Kansas is a quote about not being in Kansas anymore. Kind of reminds me of, like, Florida. There was this, like, funny story about how there's this video called, like, Why Do Pop Punk Bands All Hate Their Hometown? Which is all just about all these songs from, like, emo and pop punk bands that are like, oh, I hate this town. And the guy in the made the video deduced that, like, a large majority of bands who wrote songs about hating their hometown came from Florida. Which is really funny. There's a Modest Mouse song called Florida, and, like, I genuinely don't know what the song is about, except for the only thing I can glean from it is that there was one time when Isaac Brock was in Florida, and the entire song is about how he wants to get the fuck out of Florida. And the chorus says, you're never far enough. The chorus is literally... far enough, never far enough. Even as I left Florida, far enough, wasn't far enough. I couldn't try to escape myself. Far enough, far from Florida. Anyway, so this police officer, William Knight, who is a full-time law enforcement officer, since 2019. In May of this year, so I guess this was a recently resolved dispute. In May of this year, okay, that didn't fuck up my. I bumped my keyboard on the microphone. He was in a retail store. That's what it was. They don't say exactly which retail store it was, and there's actually a link to the summary order of revocation, which just describes it as a retail store. So was this a GameStop? Who knows? In uniform, he was in uniform when he, quote, aroused the suspicions of an asset protection investigator. So basically, he's a guy in full uniform. Asset protection. Is this a guy who's just in the store? Investigator. Because apparently this all happened, like, in there. Like, this wasn't like they reviewed the tapes or anything. Asset protection investigator. Ensures that a company loss is kept to a minimum. So I guess the guy was just there? Or something? Because the way it's written, it makes it seem like there was a confrontation. Where, the cashier notices that something was up, and after alerting the asset protection investigator, Knight pretended that he had just received a phone call. I just got a call. Oh, I gotta go. He was quickly identified and later had to admit that he indeed tried to scam them. You want to know what he did? He was taking barcodes off of cheap items from his home, taking them to the store and trying to replace the codes on the Pokemon cards with the cheap. So he would like buy something cheap at the store that had like a barcode sticker, take it off, had, I guess, like, had them like in his pot, or like had like stuck them, like just stuck one end of the, I don't know how he managed to transport all these stickers that he'd peeled off. Took them to the store and tried to place them on the cards so that when the cashier would scan it, it would show up as cheaper than it really was, which doesn't it work like when you scan a barcode, doesn't it say the name of the item? What was he thinking? What did he think was going to happen? What did he think? Were they placed properly? I have to imagine that if you're just taking random stickers off of like different items that you have around your home, that you like that they're not the same size. So like you could probably just eyeball it. Do Pokemon cards have? I guess they would have. Do they have not zip code? Barcode. Do they have like a barcode sticker, or is it just? I guess is it a stick? I have no clue. Maybe it was packs, like the boxes. All right. Yeah. The back of 12 whole boxes of Pokemon cards, and thought he could get away with buying them at a greatly reduced price. And the cashier was like, "This doesn't make any sense." Because you have to imagine that people come into the store and they buy those boxes, so the cashier knows just from seeing the number repeatedly about how much they're supposed to cost. And when this motherfucker brings 12 to the counter and it comes out to like $20 and he's like, whoa, you're like, what? Does this make any sense? What? And especially if the barcodes are like improper. What the fuck? And if it's not even the same product, like, how? How did you think only in Kansas, man? Those Kansas fellas, they're on some other shit. Well, Knight escaped. So he was charged with 1 count of unlawful acts involved in theft detection. While Knight escaped a criminal case, his actions were also brought before the Kansas Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training, the government body overseeing the apportionment of cops in the state. They determined that because Knight lacks the personal qualities of integrity required, he was unfit to continue serving, and so last month revoked his license to serve as an officer. Knight had already left his role at the Johnson County Sheriff's Office 3 days after the incident, so this wasn't a firing, more of a prevention of him getting police work elsewhere in the state. Oh my god, this is a quote from his lawyer. Unfortunately, in a time of severe stress and anxiety, he exercised poor judgment, leading to this arrest and charge. What kind of a statement is that? Dude, I'm so stressed. I'm so stressed. I have to fucking go. I have to find some way to unwind. I'm gonna commit fraud. That's how I'm gonna blow some steam off. I'm gonna rip some barcode stickers off items from around my house. Go to a store and buy Pokemon cards, and I'm gonna try and scam the store. That's the only. I'm so stressed right now. Dude, this would cause more stress to me. Fucking what? I would be walking up with like 12 boxes in my arms, just like, fucking, please don't notice, please don't notice, please don't notice. You have to be praying that the employee hates their job so much that they're not going to say anything. You have to be praying that they've already put in their 2 weeks notice. Despite his discharge from the JCSO, Mr. Knight is gainfully employed, supporting his family and his family? How old is this guy? He said he got hired in 2019, but no, he's been serving that specific sheriff's office since 2019. So, do you think he has a wife? Do you think he knows? How do you think she found out? How do you think he told her? Trying to make amends to the victim, his community, and his family through the DA's diversion program. I don't know what the fuck. This is, and the comments are exactly what you would think. The first comment on this article: murdering black people? A-okay. Trying to steal Pokemon cards? Whoa. That's a step too far, buddy. Wait. ABC News. Oh, yeah, right. Okay, so someone's linking. I had to just quickly scan. Was it the... Okay. There's a funny thing. Back in, there's a link to a story from 22 years ago, and from ABC News from 2000. Someone has linked. This is fun. I like to bring this up sometimes to people, talking about really funny police things that happen. There was a case in 2000 where a man wanted to become a police officer. Okay, and in order to take to become a police officer, you have to pass a couple tests. Obviously, there's physical ones. There's also mental ones. You have to take an IQ test to become a police officer. You'd think most people would be able to pass that. Well, he actually didn't, and it wasn't because he was like clinically, disabled, like mentally. No, it was because his IQ was too high. They refused to hire him. He aced everything else. They refused to hire him because his IQ was too high. And he was like, what the fuck? So I guess he tried to sue them, or sue the city. This was in New York. The Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New York upheld a lower court's decision that the city did not discriminate against Robert Jordan because the same standards were applied to everyone who took the test. And there's a quote from him where he says, "This kind of puts an official face on discrimination in America against people of a certain class. I maintain you have no more control over your basic intelligence than your eye color or your gender or anything else." This is so funny. So he was basically claiming discrimination against smart people, which is definitely an interesting angle to take. But I think what you can really glean from that is that it's totally okay by law, it's okay for a... I can't even think of another job where you can be rejected for being too intelligent. I can't even imagine that. And you're giving these people guns. So just remember, every time you see a police officer, he's under a certain range. Maybe he's not. Maybe different departments enforce it differently. But you never know. That's a funny story in kind of a weird, dark way.